said, flinging her purse onto the chair. I belong to him now. A real man, one who knows what a woman wants. My whole body locked up. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a deliberate gut punch. It was like she lit my soul on fire and danced in the flames, grinning. She strode right past me without a second glance, her heels echoing off the hardwood like I was part of the furniture. I could still catch the faint scent of cologne on her skin, and it wasn't mine. It was his. And the way she carried it, like it was a trophy. No guilt, no shame. But what she didn't know, what never even crossed her smug little mind, was that I'd slapped a tracker on that sleek BMW of his 2 weeks ago. She thought she was playing chess while I was already playing the next game. I had called in a favor, one I'd been saving. A biker gang. Yeah, a real one. Was waiting for him in that parking lot while she was busy moaning his name like some cheap romance scene. I felt sick. Not just because of what she did, but because I still loved her, or at least the version of her I thought was real. The woman who used to bake cookies with my niece, who kissed me on the forehead after a long shift, who whispered forever in the dark. That woman, she was a lie. Maybe always had been. She poured herself a glass of wine, barefoot now, humming like she hadn't just torn my life apart at the seams. Why him? I finally asked, voice low. She turned, calm as ice, lips curled. Because he doesn't interrogate me. He doesn't check my phone. He doesn't snore. And unlike you, he doesn't make me feel like some prison wife. I almost laughed at that. Prison wife? I busted my ass to keep a roof over our heads, paid every damn bill, planned trips to surprise her, even supported that useless Etsy candle shop of hers for 3 years, when it barely brought in a dime. You disgust me, I said flatly. She rolled her eyes. Oh, grow up, Dylan. This isn't some high school breakup. We had our time. It's done. It wasn't just the words. It was how effortlessly she said them, like tossing away an old magazine. Like I was yesterday's trash in her little fantasy novel. I stood up. You know what's really over? I said. Him. She cocked her head, confused. What's that supposed to mean? I took a long sip of my drink. You'll figure it out soon enough. Her brows tightened ever so slightly. She sensed it, that shift in the air, that edge in my voice. For the first time in a long while, she looked unsure. I stared at her for a second longer, then headed for the door. Where are you going? She asked. To set the fire? She didn't follow, didn't say anything else. Maybe because deep down, she knew. She'd already lit the damn fire herself. She just never thought I'd learn how to burn back. As I stepped out into the cool air, my phone buzzed. A message. He's handled. Not dead, handled. But with guys like Rex from the Silver Fangs MC, that could mean a dozen things. I didn't crack a smile. Didn't feel victorious. I just nodded. This wasn't about ego. It was justice for every single lie. For every time she said, I love you, while still dripping in another man's scent. For every fake grin she flashed at my family. For every time she swore I was her one and only. She chose war. And I don't lose wars. I didn't drive far. Just parked the truck around the corner, engine off, phone in hand. The night was heavy, silent, but thick with the kind of weight that presses on your chest like a damn boulder. Was I proud of what I'd done? No, but I sure as hell wasn't sorry. His name was Zane. Of course it was. The kind of name that comes with daddy's money, six-pack abs, and no actual career. I saw his name pop up in her phone the first time. Client, Zane. They were clinking glasses in a picture. Took me one quick Google search to see the truth. Not a client. Not even close. He was a self-proclaimed dating coach. His specialty? Teaching other men how to lure married women into bed. Yeah, that's the guy she threw everything away for. I sat there, eyes locked on the front windows of the house. No sign of Sydney. She was probably upstairs, still texting him, wondering why he hadn't replied yet. Probably wondering where her precious Zane was, and why he hadn't sent her that sweet little goodnight selfie. What she didn't know was that Zane was currently getting a close-up view of gravel and biker boots behind some rundown bar on the edge of town. Her voice echoed in my head. I'm not yours anymore. I'm his. I should have seen it coming. Looking back, all the signs were flashing red. She suddenly started going to yoga 3 times a week. And I'm no idiot. Yoga doesn't leave bite marks on your thighs. One night, she forgot to move her laundry, and I noticed the waistband of her leggings had slipped just enough to reveal a mark no yoga pose could explain. Then came the passwords. All of them changed overnight. No more access to our photo albums, or even the Netflix account we'd been using since we were broke and in love. Her excuse? I'm just trying to establish healthy boundaries. Boundaries? Between husband and wife? She stopped calling me babe, too. At first, it was Dylan again. Then, nothing. At dinner, it felt like I didn't exist. In bed, I was just another shadow in the room. She quit wearing her wedding ring, said it didn't fit her aesthetic anymore. What she really meant was that it didn't match the online version of herself she was creating for Zane and his perfectly filtered world. But I didn't blow up. Not right away. I went into detective mode. Started peeling back the layers. And what I found under each one? More rot. Hotel receipts, Long Beach, the same weekend I was supposedly out of town at a work conference. Photos of her at a rooftop bar, arm around some stranger, wearing the very dress she once said was too revealing to wear out. Then I stumbled onto a voice memo in her deleted files. Her voice, soft, breathy. I miss the way you make me feel like a goddess. The way she said it, like I'd never existed at all. I should have lost it. Should have screamed. But instead, I sat there listening to that damn recording on a loop, letting it slice me open, piece by piece. So when I finally looked her in the eye and called her out, I wasn't searching for answers. I already knew them all. I just wanted to watch her lie to my face one last time, and she did, without missing a beat. Because Sydney wasn't just unfaithful. She was a damn actress. She could have won an Oscar the way she played the loving wife. But that night, holding her wine glass and flashing that phony smile, I saw her real face. The one that felt nothing. No guilt. No shame. No soul. That's when I finally turned the key in the ignition. I had a plan now, just needed one final piece before the curtain could rise. I called Rex. Make sure he's still breathing, I told him, but not smiling. Rex chuckled through the line. Oh, trust me. Smiling ain't gonna be an option for a while. As I drove into the night, I checked the rearview mirror. That house? That woman? They weren't mine anymore. And soon, she'd find out what that really meant. The next morning, you'd think nothing had happened. I came back around 6, just as the first light hit the sky. There she was, curled up on the couch in her robe, scrolling on her phone like she didn't just detonate a bomb in our marriage. Legs crossed, calm as a queen. Not my queen. Just a fraud perched on a throne of deception. She looked up, casual. Sleep well, Dylan? I didn't answer. Just kept walking, straight to the kitchen. Poured myself a cup of coffee, flipped the kettle on. My hands were steady, but inside? Inside, I was one spark away from a wildfire. She followed me in, leaning on the counter like nothing was broken. So, was all that drama last night just for show? She was baiting me, testing whether I'd crack or beg. Control had always been her drug of choice. And last night, I yanked a little of it back. That unsettled her. I asked a question, I said, taking a slow sip of coffee. And you answered it with a damn fireworks show. She smirked again, like a woman who thought she already had the trophy in hand. Zane makes me feel alive. You? You make me feel like I'm aging in slow motion. That one hit harder than I expected. Because the truth was, I'd done everything I could to keep the spark going. Weekend getaways. New tricks in bed. Even shaved off the beard she once joked made me look like her uncle. I'd been over backwards trying to keep things exciting. But the reality? It was never about me. It was always about her. About how many heads turned when she walked into a room. About how many hearts she could string along with a smile. What happened to the woman who'd wait by the door just to greet me with a smile? She didn't even blink. She found someone better. Didn't flinch. Not once. And neither did I. By then, I wasn't asking for answers. I was just reminding myself of the ghost I used to share a bed with. That's when the second buzz hit. My phone lit up, Rex. Package delivered. Pretty boys crying. No visible damage. But his pride's in pieces. Perfect. Time for the next act, psychological warfare. I turned to Sydney, keeping my voice casual. Zane doing all right today? She arched an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Haven't heard a peep from him. Not last night. Not this morning. I took a sip of coffee. Weird, right? For a guy who lights you up so much, he's been awfully quiet. She twitched. Just a flicker, but I caught it. A tiny crack in the porcelain mask. She caught herself quickly. He's probably busy. Unlike you, he has a life. Right. A life that had just gotten his ribs rearranged by a couple of drunk bikers who owed me a favor. I leaned in slightly. You sure he's not ghosting you? That one hit the nerve. Her lips parted like she was going to speak, but nothing came out right away. You're pathetic, she snapped. You're trying to screw with my head now? Grow up. I smiled and finished my coffee. Oh, Sydney, this is just the opening act. I grabbed my keys and made for the door. She spun around, barking. Where the hell are you going now? To see a lawyer, I said. He's been waiting on the file I spent 3 months putting together. That shut her up real fast. Oh yeah, I had it all. Photos, audio files, hotel receipts, even chat logs with Zane, thanks to a little spy app she never realized was quietly running on her brand new phone. I'd built a case so tight it could squeeze the oxygen out of her defense. If she wanted a dirty fight, I'd give her a nuclear meltdown. She stood there frozen, eyes finally catching up to the truth. That I hadn't been as blind or as weak as she always thought. Right as I opened the door, I paused and looked over my shoulder. Oh, and tell Zane I said thanks for the entertainment, and maybe suggest he look into a new dental plan. His smile might be a little loose now. Then I stepped outside, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt alive. The lawyer's office was polished, cold, glass walls, quiet as a graveyard. Not built for comfort. Built for war. Connor Jenkins, top dog in divorce law around here. Expensive, ruthless, and worth every cent. I dropped the thick folder on his desk. He gave a long whistle. Damn, Dylan, most guys walk in with suspicions. You brought an FBI case file. I leaned back in the chair. Had plenty of time to get my ducks in a row. He opened the folder and started flipping through pictures, transcripts, GPS logs, credit card receipts. Sydney had no idea how deep I'd gone while she was off living her delusional goddess routine. Then Connor stopped at one particular page, a bank statement screenshot. She'd been quietly skimming money from our joint account, trickling it into his secret fund labeled Harper Designs, a business that didn't exist. Your wife, Connor muttered, shaking his head, she wasn't just cheating. She was staging her exit. No, I said, jaw locking tight. She was plotting a clean escape. No mess. No regrets. Just stroll out the door with her little candle shop and her boy toy in tow. I paused. But now? She's walking straight into a minefield. Connor gave me a nod and half a grin. We'll file today. You'll keep the house, both cars, and if we push the theft angle, we might even seize her business. Then he asked, You sure you want this to go full nuclear? I stared him down. She burned our marriage to the ground. I'm just making sure she's front row for the explosion. When I got home, I heard her before I even opened the front door. She was pacing, voice sharp, laced with panic. No, baby, I swear I didn't tell him anything. I don't know how he found out. He's just acting weird. A pause. No, I didn't say your name. He's bluffing. Dylan is bluffing. That was my cue. I stepped in and let the door slam behind me like thunder. She jumped and spun around, phone clutched tight to her chest. I looked her in the eyes. Tell him, I said. I said hi. I said it calmly, almost too casually. Her face lost every ounce of color. I was just, she stammered. I know exactly what you were just doing, I cut her off. Didn't expect me to catch your little panic call this early in the morning, did you? She ended the call, hands trembling slightly. I dropped a thick envelope onto the table between us. She frowned. What's this? Paperwork, I said flatly. Filed this morning. Think of it as your opening act. She peeled it open and started scanning the first page. And just like that, the smug smirk she'd been wearing for weeks vanished. Panic slipped in behind her eyes. You're not serious, she said, her voice tight. I've never been more serious in my damn life. Her expression hardened. You're not getting away with this. I'll fight you. Good, I nodded. There's more where that came from. She slammed the envelope down on the table like it had betrayed her. I gave you the best years of my life. I couldn't help it. I let out a laugh. No, Sydney. You gave him your best nights, your loudest moans, your finest lingerie. Me? I got the scraps. She turned away, breathing sharp, shoulders trembling. But not from grief, no tears. Just rage. She didn't love me. She just hated losing. Who the hell do you think you are? She snapped. I'm the man who finally stopped being your damn doormat. And then, I dropped the hammer. I know about the second guy, Sydney. She froze, like someone hit pause on her whole body. I kept going, slow and clear. The one who paid for your little wellness retreat in Riverside? His name's Henry. Married. 2 kids. That ring a bell? She didn't say a word. Didn't have to. Her silence told me everything. Yeah, Zane wasn't the only one. She had a full rotation, like a schedule. I had the flight records, the hotel confirmations, the burner emails she used to stay hidden. Now, she just stood there, stunned, staring at me like I'd grown horns. You wanted to get dirty? I said. Well, sweetheart, I brought the landslide. Then I walked out of the room, no guilt, no second thoughts. Just the cold, clean feeling of a man finally taking back what was his. She didn't chase after me this time. Sydney stayed planted in that kitchen, gripping that envelope like it might rewrite reality if she held it tight enough. But truth? Truth doesn't go back in the box once it's spilled. I stepped into my office. Well, what used to be our shared office, before she took over half of it with her candle jars and spiritual rocks. Even now, the scent of lavender oil and lies clung to the air. I sat down, opened my laptop, and sent off one more email. All the dirt I had on Henry, his wife, deserved the truth, too. Yeah, I wasn't just burning bridges anymore. I was lighting up the whole damn forest. My phone pinged again. Rex, your boy Zane ran to the cops. Said he got jumped behind the bar. Didn't mention you by name, but he's rattled. I texted back. Let him stay scared. I want that fear to crawl under his skin and live there. I knew the line I was walking. But this wasn't about beating someone up. It was about sending a message. I didn't care if Zane limped for a week. I cared that he learned. You mess with a married woman, it doesn't end in champagne and selfies. A knock came at my office door. Soft. Hesitant. I didn't answer. The door creaked open anyway. Sydney stepped inside, not the cocky seductress from the night before. Something different. Still not sorry, just scheming. You're going to ruin everything, she said, arms crossed, tone ice cold. Good, I muttered without even looking up. She moved closer. Dylan, come on. Let's talk this through. We don't need lawyers. I looked her dead in the eye. You laughed in my damn face, Sydney. You turned me into a joke in the house I built. Now you want peace. She went quiet, leaning on the desk now, voice softer, lower. You're not thinking straight. You're emotional. This isn't you. You always wanted to be the bigger man. I laughed bitterly. You never knew who I was. You just projected whatever version suited your narrative. She softened her tone again, her favorite weapon, fake vulnerability. I didn't mean for any of this to go so far. I was just lost. We were drifting apart. I shook my head. Lost women don't stumble into hotel rooms, Sydney. They go to therapy. They fight for what matters. Her jaw twitched. Didn't like hearing that. I stood, walked past her. You want to speak your truth? Fine. You've got 10 minutes. After that, you're gone. For good. She didn't flinch. I stopped feeling seen, she said. You made me invisible in this marriage. I turned to face her, expression steady. And I stared. I'd get dressed up, and you'd barely even notice, she said, voice low. I tried to talk to you, but you were always too tired. You were slipping, Dylan. And Zane, she added, he made me feel alive again. There it was, that word again. Alive. Like I was some cold mortician and she was Marilyn Monroe, aching for a spotlight. I was working my ass off, Sydney, I snapped. Building a life. Paying for your car, your boutique, your crystals, your damn Etsy empire, everything. I never asked you to, she barked back. You did all that so you could feel in control. I stepped in closer. No, I said. I did it because I loved you. Because I believed we were in this together. I shook my head. Turns out I was just the mule pulling the weight, while you rode shotgun with someone else's hand on your thigh. Still, no emotion from her. You're still in love with me, she said, cool and sure. That's why you're this upset. No, I replied, my voice ice. I'm in love with the woman I thought you were. The one you pretended to be. She opened her mouth like she had something to say, then shut it. For once, nothing clever came out. You've got 2 hours, I said. Take what's yours and go. Touch anything that's not, and I'll have your face plastered on every courtroom wall in this damn city. Then I walked out, left her standing in the mess she made. Sometimes, healing only starts when you burn down the thing that poisoned you. She didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't shed a tear. Instead, Sydney did the only thing she knew how, pretend she still had control. She strutted around the house for the next hour like she was on some farewell tour, packing up her designer wardrobe into overpriced suitcases I paid for, acting like she was the one making the decision to leave. It was laughable, honestly. She even lit one of her ridiculous candles in the kitchen, some cinnamon eucalyptus nonsense, like it was a sacred ritual. I'll have someone come by for the rest of my stuff, she said, rolling her last bag to the door. I didn't even look up. Just make sure it's not Zane, I said. Wouldn't want him to meet what's waiting in the driveway. She paused. You don't scare me, Dylan. I finally turned to her. I'm not trying to scare you, I said. I just want you to understand. I'm done being your fool. She flashed that same fake smile she used to post online. One day, she said, you'll see this was me doing you a favor. No, I said, you didn't do me a favor. You did me damage. I'm doing myself the favor by ending this. And just like that, she was gone. The silence that followed felt heavier than I expected. I stood there staring at the candle she lit, its scent drifting like a bad memory. Cinnamon and eucalyptus. I used to like it. Now it just smelled like lies. I opened the kitchen window and let it drift out into the morning air. Let it disappear like she did. Relief? That's what I thought I'd feel. But what came over me instead was something thicker. Grief. Not just for her, but for the life I thought we had. For the love I thought I built with my bare hands. Burying a dream ain't easy, especially when it's the one that used to keep you warm at night. I walked into the bedroom and saw her jewelry box still sitting on the dresser. For a second, I just stared at it. Then I opened it. There it was, tucked beneath the cheap gold hoops and flashy earrings. The necklace I gave her for our 5th anniversary. She once said it made her feel like royalty. Guess it didn't shine as bright as a 6-pack in a rented Porsche. I grabbed the necklace, walked outside to the fire pit, and dropped it in. Didn't light it. Not yet. I just needed to place it there. A symbol. A step. I needed to know I could destroy something she once made me believe was sacred. That symbol, the necklace, the fire, it wasn't just drama. It was closure. That night, I slept dead center in the bed for the first time in years. No edge hugging. No ghost limbs. No emptiness reaching across the mattress. And when I woke up the next morning, I didn't check her Instagram. Didn't scroll through old photos. Didn't wonder where she was or who she was with. I wasn't playing detective anymore. The trial was over. Verdict delivered. She was guilty. I brewed a cup of coffee, straight black. No cinnamon creamer. No soy milk. Just strong, bitter, and real. Exactly how I felt. Then a text came in. Not from Rex. Not from Connor. It was from Henry's wife. The other man's wife. Thank you for the truth. I had no idea. I'm filing tomorrow. You're not alone in this. I sat there for a long moment, just staring at that message. Then, for the first time in a while, I smiled. Because somewhere out there, another betrayed heart had chosen clarity over confusion. It wasn't just about Sydney anymore. It was about taking back what people like her tried to steal. Peace. That day, I cleaned the house top to bottom. Not just the clutter. I was scrubbing her out. Her presence. Her residue. I wiped the mirrors, washed the sheets, and dumped every last cinnamon candle into a trash bag. Left it on the curb like a disease I'd finally kicked. I cranked the music, loud and unapologetic. Songs she hated. I danced like a damn fool in the hallway, arms flailing, laughing like a man who finally remembered how. And that night, I lit the fire pit, dropped the necklace in, watched it melt, spark, and disappear. Just like whatever love we once had. And you know what? It felt good. Really good. Funny how fast the house felt like mine again. No more trails of her perfume in the hallway. No more passive-aggressive sighs or slammed doors echoing through the walls. The place could finally breathe. And so could I. It hit me. I'd been living inside a staged set, part of a fantasy I didn't even audition for. But now the lights were out. The script was gone. And I was free to write the next act my way. That week, I changed the locks. New keys. New garage code. Even changed the Wi-Fi name to No Cheaters Allowed. Made me laugh, and after everything, I earned a little pettiness. Friends started calling. Word spreads fast in a small circle. Sydney always craved the spotlight, and now she had it, just not the way she liked. People I hadn't heard from in ages were suddenly so sorry and completely shocked. But you could hear it in their voices. Most weren't shocked. They were just guilty for staying quiet. One night, my best friend Steven showed up with a 6-pack. I knew something was off, bro, he said, handing me a cold one. I just didn't want to say anything. You were all in, and I didn't want to be that guy. You should have been, I told him, honest and calm. Next time, if there is a next time, be that guy. We sat in silence for a while, sipping beers, letting the quiet do the talking. Then he said the thing I hadn't let myself say out loud. She didn't deserve you, man. I didn't nod in pride. I nodded in understanding. Because he was right. Not in an arrogant way. In that quiet, painful way you admit someone destroyed what you built with your own 2 hands. The next few days were strange. I kept expecting something from her. A message. A missed call. Maybe a desperate voicemail begging for another chance. But nothing ever came. No apology. No regret. No attempt at explanation. She vanished the moment she couldn't control the story anymore. And honestly, that silence? It said more than any speech she could have given. She didn't love me. Not like I loved her. Because real love fights. Real love tries. And she didn't even flinch. But I kept going. Cleaned out the closet we used to share. Tossed the dresses she left behind. Donated the heels that used to click across the tile like a ticking time bomb. I even emptied the junk drawer she filled with her crystals and dried flowers and energy tokens from those overpriced retreats. And that's when I found it. A journal. Tucked under her side of the bed. Part of me didn't want to read it. But a bigger part needed to. So I opened it. Pages and pages of affirmations. I deserve more. I'm a queen. Dylan is suffocating my soul. She'd been writing it for months. Maybe longer. And not one single line was about working through things. Not one word about us. Just line after line about freeing herself. She had already left me 1,000 times in that journal. So I stopped reading. I lit the fire again, and one page at a time, I fed her words to the flames. No yelling. No tears. Just smoke rising and me watching it without blinking. That night, I slept better than I had in a long time. Maybe years. Not because I was over it, but because for the first time, I wasn't carrying anything. No lies. No pretending. No weight pressing on my chest. Just me. Free. Standing at the start of something new. 2 weeks passed. Not a single word from her. No, how are you? No, I messed up. Not that I was waiting on one. Sydney wasn't the apologizing type. She rewrote the past in her head, cast herself as the victim, and rose from the ashes like a phoenix. Ignoring the fact she lit the damn fire herself. But I didn't need her version of things. I had the truth. And for me, that was enough. The divorce moved fast. Connor Jenkins didn't waste time. With the stack of evidence I gave him, the court barely even blinked. I kept the house, both vehicles, the savings account, even partial ownership of her candle business, which she ended up selling back to me for next to nothing. She wanted out. She got it. I heard she moved in with Zane. Of course she did. And I also heard Zane dumped her a week later, right around the time his face stopped swelling, and his ego came crashing back to earth. Funny thing is, when the thrill of sneaking around wore off, so did her sparkle. He ghosted her. Just like she ghosted reality. Karma doesn't miss. And this time, it had a front row seat. But by then, I wasn't watching. I had my own life to get back to. And strange as it sounds, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement. Not bitterness. Not rage. Just freedom. I started doing things I'd shelved for far too long. I reconnected with old friends. Took solo road trips on weekends. Picked up photography again. Real photography, not the posed couple crap she used to make me take for her curated lifestyle feed. I joined a boxing gym. Started hitting the bag like it owed me rent. And finally, I started sleeping through the night without waking up in a cold sweat. Then came the part one didn't expect. Her mom showed up. Yeah, Tina. The same woman who once called me the best thing that ever happened to Sydney. Then went dead quiet the moment it all blew up. She looked drained, like the weight of it all had finally landed on her. Makeup barely covering the stress under her eyes. I just came to say I'm sorry, she said, voice soft. I leaned on the doorframe. You knew, didn't you? She nodded. Not at first. But toward the end, yeah. I told her to stop. She wouldn't listen. I should have shut the door right then. Should have told her she was just another enabler. But the guilt in her eyes. It kept me still. She thinks you'll take her back, Tina added. She believes, deep down, that you'll forgive her one day. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so Sydney. Still thinking the world would bend itself back into shape for her. Tell her to keep dreaming, I said. Tina nodded, turned to leave, then paused at the steps. She didn't deserve you, Dylan. And she knows it. Even if she'll never admit it. Then she walked away. I closed the door behind her and stood in the silence of the home I fought to keep. My home. No longer haunted.